I'm happy to be here for this first intervention on the general overview of the CWC and its relevance. So I am going to talk on 4 or 5 points. The sequences, the place of CWC in arms control and disarmament measures, and I might as well mention it here. It is, after the BWC, the second major actual disarmament measure as opposed to an arms control measure. And I was in Geneva in '69 when they negotiated the BWC. The CWC was negotiated between 1980 and 1993 in the Conference of Disarmament. As the Foreign Secretary had said, we were very active, and in fact, in the period before it came into force, Ambassador Shaukat Umar was the deputy head of the nascent organization. One of the issues which was very important was in the BWC, there is a lack of a real verification mechanism. And we were all very keen that this be rectified in the CWC. Of course, conversely, people were worried with the challenge inspections that would there be too much intrusion, so therefore it took some time to iron that out and for countries to actually join. Now getting on to the overview of the CWC itself. As I think you've already been told in the introduction, as you know, it's an arms control treaty that outlaws the production, stockpiling, and use of chemical weapons and their precursors. It's administered by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, has 24 articles, and each party undertakes never to develop, produce, acquire, stockpile, transfer chemical weapons to anyone, to use them or engage in any military preparations, or to encourage or induce their use anywhere else. There are certain activities which are not prohibited, subject to this convention, and that is that's to retain, transfer, and use, but also they can produce other chemicals, etc., and transfer and use them. But and for this reason, the basic thing is that under all these conventions, treaties, the NPT, the CWC, the basic bargain was that if you sign these treaties, then you have the right to the peaceful technology and transfer and use. But in the case of Iran, as can be seen, there it has changed now to a question of intent is used as the standard by the major developed countries. And in CWC you have the Australia group which keeps control on them. We are members of that, and we use their control list. But there is always a constant struggle amongst the developing countries that they should have more access to technology under these conventions. And just to give you an idea, when we wanted to set up a level 4 lab for medical purposes and new endemics and pandemics, which are hemorrhagic fevers, etc., it took us a very long time to actually to develop such a lab, because nobody was willing to export it to Pakistan. Assistance and protection against that, I think our first speaker has already told you how countries can cooperate in giving each other training and equipment for protection, and Pakistan has been very active in this field. Economic and technological development, so all the parties have a right to conduct research, develop, acquire, retain, and use these chemicals, as I pointed out, and to exchange these. But then, of course, as I said, there are certain limitations which are always constantly under negotiation. The Opcw is the implementing and secretariat body of the CWC. Its main function is to ensure the implementation of its provisions established. It has 192 member states. There's a conference of state parties, a technical secretariat, an executive council, and entry into force in 1997. The Conference of State Parties is the principal organ-making organ of the organization. It's composed of all states that are ratified and acceded to the convention. It meets annually for 5 days in The Hague. I've been to one of their sessions. It's really an experience. Special sessions will be held every 5 years. And of course, if countries are in breach of any of their obligations, then their privileges are stopped. In fact, if they're in breach of a major obligation, that is in terms of chemical warfare, or its use for stockpiling or non-declaration, they can be reported to the Security Council. Then we have the Executive Council. It supervises the activities of the OPCW. It has 41 members. It's elected for 2 years. Due regard is paid to the importance of chemical industry and geographical representation. We were re-elected as a member in 2017, and we've been most of the time on the Executive Council. The composition of the Executive Council, as you can see, is Africa 9, Asia 9, Eastern Europe 9, Latin America 7, Western European and other groups 10, and 1 on a rotating basis. The Technical Secretariat carries out the activities mandated by the Convention, as verification activities, providing technical assistance to the state parties, and supporting, obviously, the conference and the Executive Council, and communications on and behalf of the OPCW. Now we come to the inspection mechanism, which is an interesting thing. It promotes and verifies the adherence to CWC, it consists essentially in the main thing in evaluations, verification of evaluation of declarations made by all member states, as well as on-site inspections in the country. It provides for 2 kinds of inspection: routine inspections, of which, for instance, Pakistan and many countries have had a number of them. It depends on the size of your chemical industry, how many inspections you have. And then you have challenge inspections. Challenge inspection is where one state accuses another that it has a site where it is carrying on activities, either production, stockpiling, or whatever, of chemical weapons or their precursors. And so far, the challenge inspections, which many people were apprehensive would be abused, has never been invoked till now. And to prevent abuse, if the Executive Council meets, 2/3 of their members can override any request for a challenge inspection. So you have the routine inspections, which are laid down, as far as we're concerned, in the SOP called Routine Industrial Inspection by OPCW, issued by the National Authority of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because our national authority is in the National Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the national authority is the leading element in these inspections, but administrative and operational support is provided by the relevant government organization. Till now, we've had 15 successful routine industrial inspections at declared facilities, which have been carried out by the OPCW. So the challenge inspection I've already covered, and then we go to Pakistan and the CWC. We signed it on 13th January 1993, we ratified it on 20th October 1997, and it entered into force in 1997, November as well. The next slide here shows some shots of a routine inspection of OPCW inspectors who are here. They usually arrive at Karachi, and then we receive them out there. We take them to whichever chemical site they want, and they're welcome to examine everything and look around and see. And then have talks with our people to discuss the report and to iron out any small modulations which we feel or they feel might be required. So now I come to the other important thing about the CWC. What is its contemporary relevance? I think this is, we know the relevance from before. There's the horrors of the First World War and their repulsion against their use, which deterred, as was pointed out by our first speaker, deterred the use of CWC employment in World War II, despite production and stockpiling by major powers. In our neighborhood, Pakistan, on 19th August 1992, signed a bilateral agreement with India on not to produce chemical weapons. Article 1 states, they undertook never under any circumstances to develop, produce, or otherwise acquire chemical weapons, to use chemical weapons, to assist or encourage or induce in any way anyone to engage in development, production, acquisition, stockpiling, or use of chemical weapons. We kept to our commitment. However, when India joined the CWC a year later in 1993, it did so as a possessor state party and declared Category 1, which is the most dangerous type of chemical substances. It declared a stockpile of 1,044 tons of sulfur mustard gas. So, then they are the use by non-state actors. The most early and well-known is in 1995 when the Tokyo subway attack by using sarin was used by the Aum Shinrikyo cult. This highlights the ability of its production by terrorists and non-state actors. Then there are other cases where it's not absolutely clear whether they're non-state actors or states behind it. In February 2017, probably VX, because Malaysia never allowed the OPCW to test it, nerve gas was used on Kim Jong-un, the chairman of DPRK's brother, and most recently in March 2018, Novichok nerve agent was used in Salisbury in the US attack against a Russian defector settled in England and his daughter, who was a Russian national. And that the investigation on that is continuing with a lot of back and forth between Russia and other countries, including the UK. Syria, I think, is very well known, and this is the main and continuing problem. Originally, after the use of CWC agents, the Syrians were brought to the table. They signed the CWC. They agreed to get rid of all their chemical warfare stocks, weapon stocks. This was done under the supervision of the OPCW. The United States even sent a ship which would destroy many of these chemicals at sea, which was done, but unfortunately there are still instances of use of chemical weapons or alleged use of chemical weapons, including Category 2 phosgene and also chlorine, which is in a sense also morally repugnant. So what does this all really highlight? I look at it in three ways. One is there is a continuing danger. And secondly, it's important that the OPCW hopefully becomes accepted, as it should be, as an objective investigator, despite the political issues and cross-currents which bedevil it at this time. But I think also most important, it brings out the need to preserve and strengthen the moral and public backing against CWC, which will translate into more support for the convention and non-use by any party. I thank you.